A day in the life of Vladimir Putin. When the president of Russia, Putin, is not hiding in his Euro bunker and menacing the world with nuclear annihilation, President Putin has an excellent life that can be the source of envy of most modern dictators. It's true that he hasn't erected a gold statue in his honor, nor did he name himself as a living god as some of his more odd colleagues in Asia had. Despite this, Putin is still one of the richest rulers in the world. Up until a few days ago, Vladimir Putin was a superstar. He was swathed in mystery and admired by millions worldwide, but was of course before he was unveiled to be an unstable psychopath, ready to blow up the world if he didn't get what he desires. Whether he was seen riding a horse shirtless, swimming in a river, playing hockey, or simply punching a bear in the face, Putin emitted authority, crude strength, and charming terror. An extraordinary man like Putin indeed has some remarkable days filled with sumptuous spending and, of course, a lot of investments and work. Although you may think that Putin's morning routine is stacked with dripping vodka shots in his eyes, punching a dissenter in the face, and arm wrestling a bear, the truth is that Russia's president has a much more tedious start of the day. When he has no foreign meetings, he likes to stay in bed as late as noon. That honestly accounts for how he keeps looking meaning at the age of nearly 70. His breakfast comprises of the most boring menu you could ever imagine: an omelet, fresh fruit juice, porridge, and some cottage cheese, if he's feeling a little wild. His breakfast may be boring, but it is definitely not cheap. Everything Putin devours is freshly picked by local farms, owned by the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill, and cooked in his own kitchen by a highly skilled and well-paid cook. As you might have guessed, just like many preceding Russian dictators, Putin has a general paranoia of getting poisoned while taking his position into consideration. The Russian president is a very choosy eater, and he always demands of taking his personal cook whenever he visits on international tours. Naturally, Putin's cook is one of his closest people and is abundantly paid for his loyal and most likely for the delightful porridge he serves. That certainly doesn't signify that the president rejects all the tasty food on diplomatic visits. However, before Putin tastes anything, it must be checked by Russia's secret service as a former KGB agent. Intriguingly, Putin point-blank refuses to drink milk. It's not revealed, however, if he just doesn't like the taste or simply dislikes cows just as much as American imperialists after breakfast. The president enjoys a cup of Novichok-free coffee in his huge palace just outside of Moscow. The Russian President Novoagamvo estate surely doesn't lack any facilities. With its indoor heated pool, sauna, and some cold water plunge pools, luxury furniture, and luxury decoration. Being Russia's president, he unadmittedly has a lot of important responsibilities to his country and nation. However, Vladimir's first priority is his body. That's why after a healthy breakfast, it's time for 2 hours of swimming. It's stated that a lot of his governing decisions are taken while he's swimming, which would surely explain why Russia's economy is doomed. At this point, it's after 2 p.m., and many different ministers, MPS advisors, and journalists are waiting for Putin's suggestions on running the country. In Russia, nothing occurs without the supreme leader's knowledge. All the visitors will have to stay and wait for a bit more. Typically, the wait time to see Putin is stated to be between 2 and 4 hours, depending on the importance of your query. The waiting occurs in one of the Kremlin's multi-majestic conference rooms. It is reported that they seem more like entering a throne room rather than a regular cabinet or meeting room. After the swimming session, Putin is ready to lift some weights. Although he does it in an outfit that is said to have price more than $3,500 for a 69-year-old. Putin does go above and beyond to keep himself in good form. He is notable for taking part in all kinds of physical and contact sports, including his favorites, hockey and judo. Up until a few days ago, Putin was also an honorary president of the International Judo Federation. But because of the Ukrainian aggression, his role in the IJA was suspended. In the mid-afternoon, Putin's body has finally had enough, and it's time to get attired for the day. The Russian president is not too frolicsome with his dress code, as he mainly wears suits with a tie. The brands he favors the most are Keaton and Bryony, which sadly won't offer the Russian president any new suits in the near future, due to the sanctions with the EU imposed on Russia. In spite of that, Putin won't appear wearing a barrel down the road, as his suit collection costs tens of thousands of dollars. Normally, the traffic in Moscow is hell, but not when you own a private road with a police escort the whole way from your home to your office in the Kremlin. Once Putin is in the office, he's all work and no play. His office popularly doesn't have any windows and has no technology allowed inside at all because of security reasons. The sole communication is via old Soviet landline telephone, which isn't very fancy, but pretty effective in countering spying. Putin's first task of the day is to read through the reports of the Domestic Intelligence Service, the FSB, the Foreign Intelligence Service, the SVR, and his Personal Protection Army, the FSO. After acquainting himself with the truth about Russia, it's time for the president to see what his subjects have been told. Putin spends a fair amount of time examining publications printed in the excessively censored national tabloids. He particularly likes reading articles that praise him, which are in masses in the state-run media. Lastly, his favorite for apparent reasons is the foreign press. After all, Putin hasn't gotten a great image outside of Russia, but he also needs to be aware of what's going on in the world and what he can take advantage of. Putin's daily timetable is split into 15-minute slots, which is how most of the world's leaders manage their time. Meetings, press conferences, starting wars, it's all planned long before. Putin likes to squander money when he travels for international events. His delegation usually resides in a lavish hotel, especially chosen by the SVR and FSB. After scrutinization and swipe, the entire building is sealed before the president's arrival. According to Putin, he is a night owl. That is the time he has the best mental clarity and does most of his tasks usually. The president works late at home, and Putin hates staying in the Kremlin. Consequently, Putin leaves the strategic work for the late hours. He calls his ministers or advisors oftenly to discuss actions in governmental affairs way past midnight. Usually, his dinner is just as healthy as his breakfast, though he does relish in some fancy meals, like caviar on special occasions. Putin goes to bed around 3 a.m., which is definitely not a very family-friendly routine. But for Russia's leader, that's not an issue, as since 2013, he has been a single man.